Welcome to Lintcraft. My name is Lint Gravy, and this is episode 12 of the graviest survival Bedrock series on YouTube. Today we're going to talk about chunks, learn everything we can about them, and figure out how to use them to improve both our building and our farming. So let's jump in. First things first, let's climb the inventory tower so we can get a nice aerial view. So in the very gravy episode 10, we did a world tour and talked about some of the planned projects for the next phase. But one area that was neglected in that discussion was this desert area in front of the castle. And specifically that little grasslands patch right there amongst the sand. That right there is World Spawn. Today we're going to make a nice plaza there so that anytime we or anyone else spawn into this world, they'll be greeted by a totally gravy build right off the bat. But to do that, we need to know the borders of the spawn chunk. What is a spawn chunk, you ask? What are chunks, you ask? Well, oh man, oh boy, let's start with the basics then, shall we? So, Minecraft worlds are generated procedurally, filling the world with blocks as you explore around it, and the game does this by divvying up the world into sections of blocks called chunks that are 16 blocks cubed. That's 16 by 16 by 16. Well, technically that's a sub-chunk. A chunk is just 16 by 16 horizontally, and extends from the top sky to the bottom void, like property rights in America are supposed to. Your Minecraft world is made up of chunks, and your simulation distance determines how many chunks are loaded in at a time. If your render distance is high enough, you can see chunks that are outside the simulation distance and are not loaded in and running. That's how the game is able to have an infinite world without frying your potato, your computer, or whatever it is you're playing on. Whenever a chunk loads for the first time, it'll generate its blocks, but if it hasn't been loaded yet, it'll be a blank slate. So if you're updating an older world to a new release patch, any unloaded chunks can spawn all the new stuff from the update, but your already loaded chunks will stay the same. Now there is a special kind of chunk that's always loaded in, and that's the spawn chunk. It's where any player loading into the world for the first time spawns, and it can be really useful for automatic farms since the chunk is always loaded in. We're not going to automate the spawn chunk though. We can't. It's Java only. For Bedrock, world spawn is only a 5x5 area, but we will be treating the chunk that area is in as our spawn chunk, and decorating it into a lovely garden. Before we do that though, we've got a bit more about chunks to cover, as well as to check out how to see chunks on Bedrock Edition. So, like I mentioned last episode, down here in this big hole in the ground, we've got a tunnel heading south that crosses through a slime chunk. I dug this tunnel forever ago, but while I did, I left the hole to empty my inventory and came back to a bunch of slimes, but I'm not quite sure where they spawned. So we'll hang out down here a bit and wait, and then we can determine the slime chunk. Slime chunks, you say? So mob spawning is tied to chunks, but none quite like the slime. Slime cubes spawn in swamps below a certain light level, and depending on the phase of the moon, but they can also spawn in certain chunks in any biome. In Java, the slime chunks vary across the world, but in Bedrock the chunks are always in the same positions in every world, so if you know the coordinates and chunk borders, you don't even need to see the slime spawn. However, we're doing this the old-fashioned way. On Minecraft Java Edition, you can just press F3 and a super sweet overlay pops up with tons of information, as well as revealing the chunk borders, and I'm very jealous every time I see it. On Bedrock Edition, it's a bit trickier. We don't get a sick F3 function, but since I'm on PC, we can use texture packs to fake it. To install a texture pack on Minecraft Bedrock, first you gotta find the one you want, download it, and then move that file into your global resources folder if it doesn't install there itself. Then, you just select the pack before you log into your world. Voila! So the one I'm using for this video is the Markers pack by FoxyNoTail. Thank you, FoxyNoTail. To show the chunk, you just put down an armor stand inside the chunk you want to see, give it a banner to hold, and then make it strike a pose. Voila encore! Chunk borders! Okay, now to check on the slime spawn progress, and... I could have sworn slimes were spawning here before. Did they move slime chunks? Is there just a cave nearby that's full of mobs? Well, this is awkward. Okay, moving on for now, let's talk about what we want to do here for our spawn plaza. We'll check back and see if anything changes with that slime chunk, but I'm not too fussed about it. We have a decent amount of slime balls in the inventory tower. So, here at World Spawn, let's strike another pose to reveal the chunk borders, and we'll just make a nice border around the entire thing so we don't need to keep the texture pack on while we build. I'm thinking we want a nice, open, grassy, flowery area to spawn on, surrounded by fancy fencing and custom trees, and with roads branching off toward important landmarks. I'm also not quite sure how to incorporate it, but I know I do want to get some glazed terracotta in here. So, before we get to work decorating this space, I want to see exactly what we're working with around the spawn plaza. Most importantly, I want to make sure we get the road leading to the castle just right. To make sure we get it just right, let's block out everything with wool. Why wool? The bright primary colors are good for planning, it's easy to get a ton of it, and it breaks super easily with shears. So lime green will be for the streets, purple will be our plaza, red will be some chunks I want to set aside for later, and yellow will be for planned buildings and our little monument thingy. So the plaza ideally would have 4 streets emerging from the cardinal directions. But we want to have a street leading straight to the castle, and it's a little off-center unfortunately. So what we're going to do is have the castle street run out of the portcullis, meet this angled riverside street that comes out of the cathedral plaza. Doing that creates a little oblong diamond shape right here, which we can fill with a monument of some sort. That seems like the kind of thing that would be here, right? Then, this combined street can run north and form a diamond shape with the street that bridges over to the farmstead, and this street will run east-west toward the heart of the old city and the new downtown of Linton. Got it? Good. Let's get to work. We'll start off replacing all of the wool, and I think it'll be easiest if we replace the green streets first, so we can see what it'll look like leading into the plaza, so we can blend it. But I'm sure we'll change it a bunch as we go anyway. We'll use some blocks we've already used for streets, but I don't want them to look exactly like that. Let's spice it up a bit better. Okay, now that the streets look like streets, we can start working on the plaza. I'm still not set on how to make the big main avenue. I don't like that stripe. Maybe we'll change it. But let's focus on the plaza. Okay, hard part. Let's tackle what we want to do with the glazed terracotta. So here's the center of the plaza. What if we ring the crossroads with 4 little 4 pieces? Let's try light gray. Okay, that's looking pretty neat. But where do we go from here? We could expand the gray out a bit, continue the pattern, maybe. Okay, what if we start adding more colors? We could do something like this. Yes? No. No. Yes? No. Yes! Okay, Gravy Gang, here's the plan. So I'm thinking we'll actually expand it out a bit, make the shape a bit more complex. Let's see what happens if we make little parallelograms raised up 1 block ringing the plaza. I'm hoping this will make it feel more cozy and like its own little area to spawn in, separated from the builds around it, while leaving the streets open and inviting. Yeah, that's looking promising. This seems like a good time to take a break and check in on the slime chunks. So let's pop back in on the mine shaft and see what we... Oh, okay, there you guys are. Right on, now we've got another episode in the pipeline. Really quickly, let's identify their chunk, and then we can clear it out and block it off so we don't forget where it is. Oh man, oh boy, slime farm, here we come! Right, back to the plaza. Quick wipe. Next, we're going to create a ring in the middle of the plaza of each of the terracotta colors in their little 4-piece nugget patterns, except light gray for the centery bit, purple to ring the lower interior plaza, and magenta, which will be used for its arrows alongside each of the paths that lead to the streets. We'll start detailing by breaking up the grass with some coarse dirt, path blocks, and a smidge of podzol. It's hard to get it looking natural and not checkerboardy, but it's totally worth it once you get it looking good. Okay, now that we have the terracotta in place, we can start really detailing the plaza. Remember, we want this to feel like a blooming, thriving area with the barren desert city around it, blending the farmstead across the river with the town. But we also want the center spawny spot to feel nice and open, not cramped, and being more lush around the edges as a sort of border. So let's start by adding some of our prettiest flowers about the plaza, especially the torch flowers. They may be controversial among the community, but either way I think they're totally great. I'll talk about it later, but I think the community needs to chill with the sniffer and its flowers, because there's a lot of potential there. Anyway, let's add some flowers here and there, and I want to get started on some sort of archways for each of the streets, but I'm not quite sure how I want it to look. We'll have to play with it a bit. I know I don't want them to feel too chunky, so let's use wall blocks, but we also don't want it to look too skinny, you know? Something like this? I don't know, that's kind of basic. Some lanterns might help. Okay, let's pause on that and add some more shrubbery to these outer bits. And I think it's time to tackle a part I'm both very excited and nervous about. Custom trees. Custom trees can be really fun or really frustrating, depending on how they turn out. These ones might be a challenge. Unlike the farmstead's trees, we want these to look a little more desert-y, so let's stock up on plenty of fences for thinner trunks and branches, stairs to put upside down to thicken them up a bit, and a nice variety of leaves since I'm not sure which will look best together in a desert biome. First tree, here we go. Let's start with a small little birch trunk, and then we'll make a branch off to one side, and let's see how these leaves work. We want the leaves to be big enough to look like a tree, but not so blocky that it looks square, and also not protruding so much that it looks awkward or off balance. And we want to alternate a couple different shades of leaves to break up the sameness. But just like the grass patterns, we don't want it too consistent or too checkerboardy. Alright, okay, this one didn't turn out too bad. Let's try another one on the opposite side. Cool. 2 trees down. Let's get some more in here and do a bit more detailing. One cool tip that's hard to figure out unless you see it done: you can plant a tree sapling and use it as a decoration that'll never grow up into a tree by placing a piece of string on top of it. The string is all but invisible and you don't have to worry about the sapling turning into a tree. Before we finish this up, I want to get a feel for the buildings we'll have around the plaza, and we'll use yellow wool to block them off. To start with, I think this area right here would make a good place for a cute little bakery building, or some other kind of shop, and we can have an alleyway connecting these main streets on its far side. Opposite the castle street from that, this building is right next to the river, so maybe a fishing shop? It'll be a smaller building, so that might fit. Another thing we need to add is the 4th street, which I'm thinking will be a little landing/staircase down to a diagonal bridge over to the farmstead area, rather than having it go straight across to the cow barn. But this part's gonna be tricky, so let's just time-lapse it. Be right back. Cool. I think that'll be good where it is. So let's add some more trees and shrubberies and such, and maybe we can go a little bigger on these guys. And for a final touch, let's get these hanging signs on all the arches labeling the streets. Here we go. We've got the High Street to the west. South is Market Row and the castle. To the east is the farmstead. And finally, Market Row continues north. And let's add a sign or two here in the plaza. Let's see.
Welcome to Lintcraft.
Alright, that'll about do it for the spawn plaza. I went ahead and spruced up the archways a bit off camera, and it's looking pretty gravy. So before we wrap this episode up, I want to sneak up to the penthouse and add something really quick. We're going to add an automatic jukebox to this wall right here. Thank you to One Man, One Game on YouTube for the compact jukebox design, and now we can get our Allay out of the library and up here where hopefully it'll hang around dancing to the music instead of wandering off and getting lost. Okay, and here we go. Okay, now to name you. Whoops. Okay, give me that back. Hang on, wait, come back. Okay, there you are. Here, hold this diamond. There you go. Welcome, Allay. And Allay's friend. Alright, Gravy Gang, let's sign the book and call this a wrap on Lintcraft Episode 12. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like and consider subscribing. It would really help the channel grow. And I hope you all have a gravy day out there. Tune in next time for the Great Reset. Wait, what?